There is a silent war within the soul of every man. Not one waged with bullets or blood, but with distraction, temptation, and the slow decay of purpose. A war that begins not when he is broken, but when he is bored, when the fire within has no direction, no form, no battle to fight. That's when the shadows start to whisper. That's when he starts chasing what he thinks is love, but is really just an escape. A man without a mission is a man easy to manipulate. He becomes reactive, restless, addicted to the small affirmations of his fading masculinity. He begins to need validation like air. And the most immediate source? Women. Not connection, not intimacy. Just the chase, the conquest, the illusion of power in a world where he has none. He doesn't seek a woman. He seeks distraction from the shame of not becoming who he knows he was meant to be. Because without a purpose, every glance feels like an invitation. Every smile feels like a chance to be someone. But behind those eyes, behind that dopamine spike, is the void waiting to remind him, you still don't know why you're alive. The truth, no one wants to say out loud, is this: women are not the problem. Your obsession with them is. Not because women are dangerous, but because to a man without a mission, even beauty becomes poison. The same rose that would inspire a poet becomes a drug for the directionless. The same touch that would heal a warrior becomes a leash for the unanchored. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The man who chases women instead of building his soul is not in control. He is being pulled by shadows he refuses to confront, by wounds he disguises as needs. And the tragedy, he thinks this is what manhood is. He confuses lust for life, performance for power, and conquest for confidence. But what if I told you the less you chase, the more you attract? Not because you become manipulative, but because you become sovereign. You see, when a man truly finds his mission, something changes in his eyes. He doesn't scan the room for approval. He doesn't check his phone hoping she texts. He moves with a weight, a presence. Not because he's indifferent to love, but because he has something larger guiding him. And that weight, that gravity is irresistible. Not to everyone, but to the right ones. Because women can feel when a man has no spine behind his smile, when his compliments are currency, when his attention is a performance. And the man without a mission will always end up bitter, blaming women, blaming society, blaming the game, never realizing the prison was internal. He is not a victim. He is a man asleep in his own potential. Mission is the masculine anchor. Without it, a man will drown in chaos. He will chase women, clout, money, anything to feel like he's winning, but deep down, he knows. He's just running. But from what? From himself. From the hard truths that building a meaningful life is slow, it's lonely, it's unsexy. It won't give him applause or affection at first. It will demand his discipline before his desires. And that's why most men give up. Because building a mission forces you to confront how empty you really are and how long you've used women to distract you from that void. Look around. A generation of men with dopamine-fried nervous systems, scrolling for a face to validate their identity, chasing tail instead of chasing truth, addicted to attention but allergic to accountability. And they call it freedom. They call it game. But it's just avoidance in disguise. True power doesn't chase. It builds. It decides. It walks into a room and doesn't ask, who here wants me? It asks, what am I here to build? A man with mission doesn't avoid women, he respects them. But he does not orbit them. Because his world is not built around desire. It's built around destiny. And ironically, this is what makes him desire. When you carry purpose like armor, women don't become your identity, they become your allies. Not trophies to impress others, but mirrors to reflect the truth. Are you still aligned with your path, or have you wandered? Because let me tell you something timeless. Women don't follow men. Women follow vision. And if you don't have one, don't expect anyone to stay. Even you won't respect yourself. Jung taught that the feminine in man, the anima, must be integrated consciously, not worshipped, not feared, but understood. And the only way a man integrates the feminine is by first mastering the masculine, direction, presence, clarity. Until then, every woman he meets will become a projection of his missing pieces. And this is where most men break. They fall in love not with her, but with the part of themselves they see in her, the warmth they lack, the softness they suppress, the beauty they abandoned. So they chase her. Not because she's whole, but because they aren't. And when she leaves, as she must, because no woman wants to carry the burden of completing a broken man, he collapses and calls it betrayal. But it was never betrayal. It was a mirror breaking. Your mission is not to be attractive. Your mission is to be undeniable, to become so complete within yourself that whether she comes or goes, your path doesn't shift. You don't shrink, you don't beg, you don't spiral. You continue, because the greatest seduction is sovereignty. The man who is unshakable, who doesn't need her, but chooses her from wholeness, not hunger. And until you find your mission, your hunger will always betray you. You will say the right words, wear the right clothes, fake the right swagger, but your energy will betray the void. And energy doesn't lie. Women will feel it. The world will feel it. And worst of all, you will feel it. The emptiness, the aching, the knowing that you are meant for more than just being liked. You are meant to build something eternal. So stop chasing. Start creating. Let the hunger you feel not drive you toward women, but toward excellence. Let it forge you, discipline you, humble you. Let it burn away your need for validation and replace it with vision. You want to stop being the man who's always chasing? Then stop running from your calling. Because until you answer that call, every woman you meet will feel like a drug, and the crash will always be worse than the high. But once you do, once you rise with purpose in your bones and mission in your eyes, you won't have to chase anyone ever again. They'll feel it. They'll follow it. And you'll finally be free. Because freedom isn't found in the absence of longing, it's found in the mastery of it. The man with a mission still feels desire, still feels loneliness, still feels the ache, but he doesn't kneel to it. He doesn't allow it to guide his decisions or define his days. He channels it, transforms it, turns hunger into heat, temptation into tension, and longing into legacy. He knows the truth most never learn. That every time he chooses the grind over the girl, every time he writes instead of swiping, trains instead of texting, reads instead of chasing, he's not just delaying gratification. He's building gravity. He's forging an orbit around his soul, so dense, so clear, that everything he needs starts to come to him. But that clarity comes with sacrifice. You cannot serve two masters, your mission and your impulse. One will always consume the other. And most men, without even knowing it, make the trade in their teens. They abandon their throne for a warm body. They trade vision for validation, and then spend the next 20 years wondering why they feel restless, resentful, and lost. Because when you forfeit the path, life punishes you with emptiness. Jung warned of this, of the man who refuses to confront his shadow, who externalizes his war, who blames the feminine for the pain he himself cultivated. That man becomes a slave to what he does not understand. He repeats the same patterns with different faces. He dates the same woman in 100 bodies, never realizing it's not them, it's him. You do not need more women. You need more direction, because purpose is the only antidote to obsession. The only force powerful enough to make a man uninterested in cheap pleasure is the presence of a deeper pain, the pain of wasted potential. And when that pain becomes unbearable, transformation begins. Do you know why ancient warriors didn't chase women? Because they were too busy preparing for death. Every breath was borrowed. Every moment, a chance to sharpen the sword, steady the mind, master the fear. And through that crucible, they became kings. Not because they didn't want love, but because they first demanded greatness from themselves. You are not at war with women, you are at war with your comfort. And as long as you remain soft, you will reach for softness. As long as you are undisciplined, you will crave distraction. As long as you have no mission, you will fill the silence with lust, hoping it quiets the screaming truth that you are wasting the one life you've been given. Let that disturb you. Let it haunt you. Because until you let it pierce through the delusion, until you see clearly the cost of your avoidance, nothing will change. You will continue to orbit the same patterns, chase the same illusions, and wonder why nothing feels real. Purpose is pain refined. It is forged through saying no when everything inside you screams yes. It is found in the silence of discipline, in the loneliness of leadership, in the cold mornings and long nights where no one is watching. That's where the mission is born. And when you find it, when you truly embody it, women will not be a distraction. They will be drawn to you. Not because you are high value, not because you've read a script or learned a line, but because they can feel viscerally that you have transcended the need for their approval. You don't need them to complete you. You are already whole. And to the feminine, there is nothing more intoxicating than a man who cannot be moved. This is the paradox. When you need her, she pulls away. When you're whole, she leans in. Not because she wants to be neglected, but because she wants to feel your center. And if your center is built on her, she cannot trust it. Because even she knows a man without a mission is dangerous to himself and everyone he loves. He becomes clingy, reactive, volatile. He makes her his reason for living, then resents her for not being enough. He loses himself in her, then blames her for his emptiness. This is not love. This is unconscious dependence, and it ends in collapse. But when you live from purpose, you can love without losing yourself. You can give without grasping. You can walk away when needed, not because you don't care, but because you know who you are and what you must do. Purpose is a compass. It doesn't remove desire. It simply gives it direction. And with that direction, you stop asking, does she like me? And start asking, is she aligned with my path? You stop chasing experiences and start creating destiny. You stop measuring yourself by how many want you and start measuring yourself by how true you are to your calling. This is where manhood begins. Not in conquest, but in clarity. And the tragedy is most men never get there. They spend their prime years in pursuit of pleasure, thinking freedom is found in access. But access without vision is just noise. And by the time they see it, it's too late. Their edge is gone, their fire dimmed, their soul exhausted by 1,000 meaningless pursuits. But you still have time to wake up, to draw a line in the sand and declare, I will not waste my soul in pursuit of temporary affection. I will not trade my mission for the illusion of intimacy. I will not build my identity on attention. I will rise. I will suffer. I will build. And if love finds me on that path, so be it. But I will never again leave the path to find it, because I've seen what happens to the man who does. And I refuse to become him. Because once you've seen it, truly seen it, you cannot unsee. You can't go back to casual conversations that lead nowhere. You can't keep pretending that your late night scrolling isn't a symptom of something deeper. You can't keep lying to yourself that you're just having fun when your soul is starving. Because fun without fulfillment is just numbing. And numbing is the slowest suicide. Every time you compromise your focus for fleeting pleasure, you weaken the very frame that holds your destiny together. And that frame, your discipline, your order, your standards, is sacred. It's the only thing keeping you from drifting into mediocrity. And mediocrity for a man who knows his potential is worse than death. A man without a mission doesn't just lose time. He loses himself. And it's not dramatic, it's subtle. It happens slowly. Day by day, scroll by scroll, distraction by distraction. Until one day you wake up and don't recognize your own eyes in the mirror. Your posture is weak. Your mind is cluttered. Your spirit is tired. Not because life beat you down, but because you betrayed your path. Understand this. The world does not respect a man who chases. It respects a man who builds. Women may entertain you. Friends may laugh with you. Social media may applaud you. But deep down, you know when you're not rooted in something real. You know when your energy is desperate. When your choices are performative. When your drive is contaminated by insecurity. And no amount of external validation can save you from that inner fracture. There is no escape, only confrontation. You either confront the man you become or you continue pretending he doesn't exist. But the longer you delay that confrontation, the more your mission fades into myth. And the harder it becomes to find your way back. You don't need a girlfriend. You don't need a fling. You don't need more dates or more swipes. You need silence. You need solitude. You need the fire of self-awareness to burn away the parts of you that are still begging for love because you haven't yet learned how to love your own becoming. Mission is not glamorous. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't seduce. It humbles. It strips you bare. It demands every ounce of your strength, your time, your patience. It gives nothing easily. And that is why most men never walk this path. They want the crown without the crucifixion. They want the woman without the weight. They want to be chosen, but haven't yet chosen themselves. But the man who chooses his path fully, violently, without apology, becomes unstoppable. He is no longer led by lust. He is led by light. He doesn't need to escape. He doesn't need to fill voids. He creates. He plants seeds in the soil of suffering and waters them with consistency until they bloom into something eternal, something that outlives him, something that makes women pause, not because he chased them, but because he didn't, because he was too focused on building something real, something untouchable. The feminine longs to rest in the arms of the masculine, but only when that masculine is rooted in purpose, not performance, not pretense, purpose. Because purpose cannot be faked. It radiates, it magnetizes, it draws in without effort, because it is the purest signal of inner alignment. And in a world filled with noise, that signal is rare. So stop looking out. Start looking in. Every woman you've ever chased, every relationship that drained you, every situation that left you hollow, it was all pointing you here, to this moment, to this mirror, to this truth. You don't need her. You need you, the man you were before you forgot. Before you traded curiosity for comfort. Before you lost the sacred rage that comes from knowing you were meant for more. Feel that rage again. Let it rise. Not to destroy, but to refine. Let it tear through the lies. Let it dismantle the stories. Let it rebuild you into the man who no longer needs to chase because he has become the mountain. The mountain doesn't move. It doesn't beg. It doesn't lower itself to be seen. It simply is. And everything worth having rises to meet it. So now you stand at the crossroads between who you've been and who you're called to become. This is not a metaphor. This is not poetic drama. This is the real moment. Right here. Right now. Because everything in your life, every heartbreak, every regret, every quiet night, you stared into the ceiling wondering who you were supposed to be. It has all led here to this choice. Will you continue running toward what numbs you? Or will you finally rise and run toward what builds you? There is no middle path, no neutral ground, no compromise between manhood and mediocrity. You either choose mission or you choose distraction. And what you choose now will echo through every year of your life that follows. But if you rise, if you dare to become the man whose feet are planted in vision, whose eyes burn with purpose, whose hands create instead of crave, you will begin to see something shift. You will wake up without the weight of desperation. You will walk into rooms with an aura that doesn't beg, but commands. You will attract not just attention, but alignment. Because you will no longer be a boy seeking completion. You will be a man radiating wholeness. And that kind of man doesn't just win in relationships. He wins in life. He builds empires not because he wants power, but because he is power. He leaves a legacy, not because he needs to be remembered, but because he could not betray the greatness inside him. He becomes fire. And fire doesn't chase. It burns, it transforms, it leads. So let the others chase. Let them swipe, scroll, seduce, distract. You build. You suffer with dignity. You sacrifice with intention. You create a life so profound, so rich in depth, so unwavering in direction, that no woman, no fame, no validation could ever compare. You become the storm, the force, the standard. And in doing so, you don't just reclaim your masculinity, you awaken your divinity. This is the man the world is waiting for. Not the smooth talker, not the player, not the pretender, the builder, the grounded, the mission-driven. Be that man, because a man without mission will always chase women. But a man with mission, he doesn't chase. He leads.